I don't generally read reviews. Sing and dance, make faces and give flower bouquets, trying to be loved. You ever notice that trees do everything to get attention we do, except walk? I think many people in my community had very different kinds of mothers. They had mothers who acquiesced in the system of male and white supremacist domination, and my mother never did. She just could not do it. It just wasn't in her. I grew up in the South under segregation. So, I know what terrorism feels like, when your father could be taken out in the middle of the night and lynched just because he didn't look like he was in an obeying frame of mind when a white person said something he must do. I mean, that's terrorism, too. I have a collective sense of suffering. My mother was very strong. Once, she picked up a coconut and smashed it against my father's head. It taught me about women defending themselves and not collapsing in a heap. Creation is a sustained period of bliss, even though the subject can still be very sad. Because there's the triumph of coming through and understanding that you have, and that you did it the way only you could do it. You didn't do it the way somebody told you to do it. I love the natural world. It comes from my culture, which grew out of a people enslaved. The dropping of bombs on people, isn't that terrorism? Artists have a responsibility to speak and to act when governments fail, and if we don't do that, we really deserve the world we get. I cry so much less than I used to. I used to be one of the most teary people. To me, the black woman is our essential mother. The blacker she is, the more us she is, and to see the hatred that is turned on her is enough to make me despair, almost entirely, of our future as a people. It's a tragedy, in a way, that Americans are brought up to think that they cannot feel for other people and other beings just because they are different. They think they're different. It's very limiting. I met Howard Zinn in 1961, my first year at Spelman College in Atlanta. He was the tall, rangy, good-looking professor that many of the girls at Spelman swooned over. I started writing as a child. But I didn't think of myself actually writing until I was in college. And I had gone to Africa as a sophomore or something, no, maybe junior, and wrote a book of poems. And that was my beginning. I published that book. It no longer bothers me that I may be constantly searching for father figures. By this time, I have found several and dearly enjoyed knowing them all. Writing saved me from the sin and inconvenience of violence. I think war is so incredibly backward, and I don't think it's intelligent, and it's not sane. So why would you want to support it? I see children, all children, as humanity's most precious resource, because it will be to them that the care of the planet will always be left. As you know from school, it's when you have not prepared for the test that you have the fear of failing. And if you have prepared, even if you fail, you've done your best. I used to meditate all the time in bed. That was when I was raising my daughter, and I'd get her up and off to school, and then I would go back to bed and meditate. And then I would do the same in the evening, and that was very good for that period because I had so many things to juggle as a single mother. I feel very happy to be living in Berkeley because there are a lot of people who are politically active here. I love the women's movement, and I never thought of it as belonging to any particular segment of the population. When I joined the freedom movement in Mississippi in my early 20s, it was to come to the aid of sharecroppers, like my parents, who had been thrown off the land they'd always known, the plantations, because they attempted to exercise their democratic right to vote. I'm triracial, African American, Native American and Euro, that's the Scotch-Irish part. I think there is a sense of being forced at this time to look at America's really large shadow, and that's not all that bad. I think that I do feel that my nature is to express what this self, this particular self at this time, experiences in the world. And that is so organic. I use this metaphor a lot, but I'll use it again. It's like a pine tree producing pine cones, or a blackberry bush producing blackberries. It's just what happens with this being, now. It's an awful feeling to write something that you feel is really important, and to feel that you're being published by people who really don't get it or don't really care. Even with all of the things that are so awful, if you walk into your yard and stay there looking at almost anything for 5 minutes, you will be stunned by how marvelous life is and how incredibly lucky we are to have it. I'm still living at least 5 parallel lives, honestly. I wonder about it. I have no idea how that happens. I consider the fact that thousands of children die each day from starvation and a lack of medicine a crisis for humanity and a problem we must collectively attempt to solve. My interest in creating anything is that it be useful. Fiction is such a world of freedom, it's wonderful. If you want someone to fly, they can fly. We should not look down on our first ancestors. I don't know if I've ever cared much what others think. The quietly pacifist peaceful always die to make room for men who shout. Since the time of the witch burnings, the grandmothers and the healers and the midwives have been systematically targeted and burned at the stake for hundreds of years, decimating whole communities. I live on the west coast of the United States, and yet the air that I breathe is sometimes the same air that was being breathed in China the day before. I'm very disappointed in Obama. I was very much in support of him in the beginning, but I cannot support war. I cannot support droning. I cannot support capitulating to the banks. Fame exhausts me. I believe you mother everybody, not in a cloying, hovering way, but taking care of what is around you. I'm the most stubborn person I know. So many killings of black men in my lifetime. The physical shock is astounding. I know black people love the idea that we finally have a beautiful, good-looking black president. But if he is doing awful things to us, we should wake up. I never have an intended audience. I just write, you know. Politically, the world is so confused right now. There's so much suffering caused by various movements by various parties and people in power in government. Part of my ancestry is Cherokee. And in that tradition, you become an adult when you're 52. My parents were both storytellers. They always spoke with metaphorical richness. People have so many hang-ups about how other people live their lives. People always want to keep you in a little box, or they need to label you and fix you in time and location. I started out as a poet. I've always been a poet since I was 7 or 8. And so I feel myself to be fundamentally a poet who got into writing novels. It is natural to want to have a future. I want the Israeli government to be made accountable for its behavior to the Palestinians, and I want the people of the US to cease acting as if they don't understand what is going on. I think Americans generally are not used to working very hard, in terms of working for the collective. I think in our country we have taken individualism to its farthest reaches, possibly. I was brought up to try to see what was wrong and right it. Since I am a writer, writing is how I write it. Can people who hunger so desperately for what other people ever have enough? At Sarah Lawrence, I realized that everybody was already what they were going to be. The painters were painting, the writers writing, the dancers dancing. And nobody wore any makeup. The art was uppermost. I've always felt quite singular, even as a child. That I must stay on track to keep my purpose. We must do everything in our power to cease the behavior that makes children everywhere feel afraid. Many readers fail to realize this, but The Color Purple is a theological text. It is about the reclamation of one's original God, the earth and nature. Sucking up to the biggies won't get us anywhere.